How do I do so much in a day? Working a full-time job, consulting on the side, writing, staying reasonably fit, fostering my relationships, and now making these videos. Let's talk about how to level up your time management. Now, time management is not just about squeezing every morsel of productivity out of our day, but actually finding a balance where we can do more while actually enjoying ourselves. This is why I think it's one of the most crucial skills that you can learn. Using the systems presented in this video, I wanted it to be Vans, but life doesn't work out sometimes. You'll be able to do more while actually enjoying your life, all while avoiding unnecessary stress and burnout. Everyone's different, so this strategy might not work for you, but there are still bits and pieces throughout the video that anyone can apply to level up their time management. Let's get to it. Values. So you're in your car, you recently finished upgrading it. More powerful engine, more downforce, better brakes. So now you have higher top speed and you can corner faster. You're out on the road, foot to the floor, absolutely flying. But you have no idea where you're going. If there's no end destination in mind, then all of the time and money spent could go to waste. The analogy is kind of stupid, but we can use all the productivity hacks we can find to do more, but if we're doing the wrong things, it doesn't matter. We all have a million things that we could be doing, but it's time to focus and find the activities that we actually need to be doing. Particularly as outside of work, there's really only 8 hours a day where we get to do what we really want. We spend 8 hours sleeping and 8 hours working. Finding what you really want to do requires you setting goals and figuring out your values, and this takes the longest time out of anything, but it's by far the most important. There are plenty of ways to set goals, so feel free to use any strategy that works for you. I'll be using my own strategy, which I've found works after many years of trial and error, which is the 3 Ps. Now, if you have no idea what you want out of life and need some prompts, I'll flash on screen some great questions to ask. Feel free to pause the video, pick a question, and write about it. Now, I'd highly recommend you follow along and do this yourself with any method you want. Pen and paper, Word document. In the description, I will have a Notion template which will allow you to follow along. Feel free to use it. Let's start with the first P, personal. This is anything from hair care to personal finance and everything in between. Some categories could include mental health, physical health, relationships, learning, personal finance. Take 2 of these categories that are most important to you and write a goal. For goals, I tend to focus on systems as opposed to outcomes. So for instance, I'm trying to get more fit this year. Instead of writing a goal of gain 5 pounds of muscle or reach 190 pounds, my goal is daily exercise, which can be a walk, run, a gym session, time independent, and track my protein intake. If I can do those 2 things every day, then eventually I will become more fit. Instead of me potentially stopping once I hit my goal, this is creating a system to make me healthy for the rest of my life. Particularly making the goal small enough where it's not a burden, so even on my worst days, I can still complete it. If I'm busy, I can just go for a 1-minute walk outside due to the time independence of it. Another one for me is mental health. I'd like to finally like my hair, as I've went through my entire life hating it. So my goal is to do my hair every morning. That could be running a comb through it with some water, or putting in many products and styling it. So now that we have our 2 most important personal goals, let's go to the next P, professional. This applies for your current career or the one that you're trying to move into. Again, let's try to limit it to 2 main goals. You may have many, but we don't want to overwhelm ourselves and we want to keep our focus. For me, my professional goals are as follows. 1, get scary good at storytelling. To do this, I'm going to write a story every day and then tell it while I'm on my walk. And 2 is YouTube. Upload 1 video every week. Even though I work in finance, neither of these goals are related to my day job. Now, for each one of these, there can be subtasks. For instance, for physical fitness, getting a DEXA scan to see what my body fat level is, or hiring a personal trainer to check on my form. If something comes to mind, you can add this below, but that's not critical right now. The final P is paralyzers. These are the things that are holding you back from your goals. It can be bad habits or time wasters. Now for this section, I tend not to limit the number of things that I write in the beginning. I try to get them all out on the list, everything that I want to stop doing or that wastes my time on a daily basis. But at the end, once I've written the list, I choose the single one most important thing. This is the thing that steals the most amount of time from me that I'd like to make a conscious effort to reduce or eliminate. For me, it's still my phone. Even though I've gotten my phone usage way down, I'm still trying to reduce it even more. The goal is to keep my phone usage below an hour a day. So now that we have our goals, it's time to get to the fun part. Audit. So we know where we want to go, but where are we currently? To find this out, we'll do a time audit. Most of us have no idea how we actually spend our time during the week. Now this will take a little effort, but it's incredibly illuminating. New York City. So for 1 week, I'd like you to track how you spend your time. Now this can be done in a number of ways, using a pen and paper, using the Notepad app on your phone, or the way that I chose to do it and found was the least intrusive way to do it was just using Google Calendar. Then I can access it on my desktop or my phone when I'm out and about. The way you track doesn't really matter, but you just need to find a way that will allow you to track it for the entire day. You start a task, and then when you finish it, take a note of it. It doesn't have to be to the minute, but the more accurate, the better. And this also doesn't have to be every single task that you do in your life. I tend to group it into larger chunks so that it's just easier on me and it's less of a burden. But my groupings look something like this: eating, sleeping, work meetings, writing, language learning, exercise, social, rest, TV, and miscellaneous. Pick whatever categories you like. Now again, the reason that I like Google Calendar is because it doesn't get in the way. As soon as I finish the task, I open up my phone and just drag a little bit, give it a name. And I also liked the color coding aspect of it, so I can use specific colors for each type of activity, and it lets me at the end of the week easily add up where I'm spending all my time. Now it's inevitable that you'll change your behavior just due to being under surveillance, but even so, I was shocked at how much time I was wasting. For instance, in those little gaps between meetings, I would always default to going on YouTube, and over the course of the day, it ended up wasting hours. Along with that, I thought I was reading a lot, but I was actually only really reading for a half hour a day. So now that I had a basis to know where my time was going, I could start to tinker with it to better align the time that I'm spending to where I want to go. Now also I realized that I might have an intestinal issue because I was only going poo 2 or 3 times a week, but that's TMI for another time. Rest and relax. Resting is the secret to doing more. Instead of trying to cram our schedule full of as many things as possible, if we give ourselves gaps to properly rest and relax, you'd be shocked at how much more you can do. Now that being said, most of the things that we think are restful and relaxing are not. For instance, going on your phone is not relaxing. Heck, most of the time when you get off your phone, you're more tired than when you got on it. Not only that, but it's extremely hard to get back to doing whatever you were doing because it's likely much more boring than whenever you were looking at your phone because it's extremely stimulating. The best forms of rest that I've found are stretching, going for a walk, reading fiction, meditating, writing, whatever hobby or sport I'm into, or just doing nothing, staring at the wall, watching paint dry. Everyone's different, so whatever you feel like rest is to you, do it, but pay close attention to how you feel afterward. If you're more tired when you're done with it, you might need a new activity. One game changer I've found for rest, for me, is sacred morning time. I used to wake up with just the right amount of time to get out of bed, eat, and get to work with 1 or 2 minutes to spare before my first morning call. So I would start the day stressed out, and this stress would just carry on and compound over the rest of the day. I thought I was being super productive and efficient because I was eking out every minute of the day, but actually I was just shooting myself in the foot. A simple change of waking up 15 minutes or 30 minutes earlier allowed me to start off the day in more of a zen state and have a relaxing morning. Instead of speeding through my morning routine, I would take it nice and slow. Now I go for a walk in the park, get some sunlight, eat my oatmeal, then I plan my day. When I get into work, I'm completely relaxed, and more importantly, I know what I'm going to spend my time on that day. On those little gaps in between meetings, instead of wasting time doing nothing, I have activities that will take me closer to my goals. I've also instituted a rule that before my first meeting in the day, I'm not allowed to use my phone. And this helps me keep that kind of balanced, relaxed state the entire morning up until my first meeting. Having a similar protected time could also be helpful before you go to sleep, where 1 hour before you go to sleep, no phones, just relax and prepare for sleep. Okay, so we know resting is important. Now it's time to put it all together and schedule. So in the morning, I take 10 minutes and plan out my day. The first step is writing a to-do list. And on my to-do list, I include both tasks that I need to do and routines or systems that I'm trying to build. So while writing these items, I'm assessing if it really needs to get done today, if it can wait, and what the level of importance of it is. And for the items that are critical, that need to get done today, I bold. Any of the items that are either not critical or don't need to get done today, I add to a backlog. Every month I create a list of items that should get done. Now these are the things that pop into your head randomly throughout the day. Go to the dentist to check on the tooth, buy a humidifier, and instead of letting them clog up my mental space, I immediately put them on paper into my backlog. Then occasionally throughout the month I'll scroll through it and see if there are items that I should pull into the daily to-do list. Okay, so now we have a list of things that we want to do, hopefully that are moving us closer to our goals. Now it's time to actually schedule it into our day. So I used to schedule in every single item on the to-do list meticulously, but I found that that just took too much time and I wasn't actually following the schedule just due to life's unpredictability. So I find that scheduling in just those critical items, maybe 2 or 3 things, and then also scheduling in those rest periods just to relax or do nothing works for me the best. Now, if your life is extremely unpredictable, this probably won't be that helpful, but even so, it still helps you carve out dedicated chunks of time to complete the tasks that you think are critical. Now, before anything goes on the schedule, I also like to think about my natural energy peaks. For reference, I stole this from Andrew Huberman, but generally for the first 8 hours of the day, you have more energy and you'll find that it's much easier to complete tasks that take much more mental friction. For instance, working out. So tasks that you really have to push yourself to do, I find that if I know one of my critical tasks is going to create a lot of mental friction, then I'll schedule it in the first 8 hours of the day. But I also like to put on my calendar any recurring tasks that I know will be completed in a specific time. For instance, I have a couple meetings that are daily, they happen at the same time, and then I have a couple habits that I'm trying to build that I do at the exact same time between those morning meetings. So I find that it's really helpful just to put that in the calendar so I know it's there. Now for rest periods, I tend to schedule them in roughly after about an hour and a half of work. Honestly, I don't follow this all the time. If I'm getting into a flow state and I don't want to interrupt it, I'll just blow by it. But just having that simple reminder to take a rest at specific times can make you more likely to take a break. Now, generally, when scheduling, I try to give myself less time than I think will be necessary to complete the item, just to take advantage of Parkinson's law, where our work expands to the time that we give it. And most of the time when I'm writing the tasks for the things to do, I try to simplify them down to the point where I'm just getting started on it. For instance, if I'm trying to film a video, I just write, turn on the camera and turn on the lights, as opposed to film the video broadly. It's a little mental trick to reduce the friction doing the thing. Lastly, I try to schedule in fun. Now this sounds kind of stupid, but when we're in the trenches and we're working really hard, sometimes we forget to enjoy ourselves. So I will intentionally schedule in time to watch a movie, hang out with friends, but just making sure that somewhere on my schedule is a nice block of time just to have fun. Now hopefully some of these tips have helped you level up your time management. Now if you're tired of these big sweeping changes and you just want some simple things that could still have a measurable impact on your life, check out this video. Thanks for watching.